Hello friends, bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Colotero on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, aka Premier Pools on social media.
Hello everyone. We have a fun episode for y'all today. Today, Jen explains aliens.
Welcome to the show, grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share, you'll never feel alone.
So, I'm really excited for this topic.
Me too. I know.
I really like aliens. I don't know. I just think they're really cool. I have a lot of alien decor. I wouldn't say maybe like a lot, but I have some alien decor in the house, and David knows that I like alien themed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of my goals is to go to Roswell, to check out like the alien town, and then on your way to Vegas, there's a little like alien hotel, and I just had like
it is a hotel, right?
it's a hotel and gift shop.
And jerky shop. They sell beef jerky, right?
Yes, abducted cow jerky.
Yes.
And I just had so much fun there. I think just because like I'm still a little weird, but as a kid I was really weird. So I felt like drawn to aliens because it's like they're weird like me. Like they don't fit in like me. So I just have always loved aliens.
Nice. And we just came to find out that it's a very contentious subject. We are very fortunate enough to do kind of in person with some close people. A lot of people will remain anonymous on this podcast just because they didn't really want to know or just not share their identity, basically. But we actually had some good in-person conversations with people and just asked their thoughts and said, like, hey, what are your thoughts on aliens? Just getting ready for the episode. And my goodness, it is a contentious topic. So much so that we're actually going to switch the format up a little bit. Usually we kind of do just a little background or explanation of what the subject is. Then we go into Genesis's and myself's personal experience, and then at the end some questions. But this time we got a lot of stories, so not too many questions.
I also have more questions than answers. So if you ask me a question, I'd be like, you and I know the exact same amount of material.
But the truth is out there.
Yeah, definitely. We just have to find it. So when we say aliens, what are aliens? Aliens are extraterrestrial life forms. What they look like or their agenda or how advanced they are is definitely like up for debate. But
So I just to interject there. So I think like at the basis, like fundamental definition, it's not that complicated, right? Because extraterrestrial, it's in the name Terra. So basically anything that's not from Earth, anything that's not terraformed is a life form is considered alien.
yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say next. Basically, anything that does not exist within the earth, any living form outside of the earth. So if science were to ever find like bacteria on another planet, that is alien, that is extraterrestrial. So that's what we're talking about. However, in pop culture, you see aliens in different forms. The most common one is like the skinny beings with big old heads, and they're usually like gray, silver, green, with the really big eyes. And then, in The Simpsons, for example, the aliens there more have like, they look like octopuses with like jars on their heads. So yeah, there's a lot of different forms of like what aliens look like in pop culture. My favorite personally is the traditional like big head, skinny body, green or silver. But what do you think about how aliens look like in pop culture? Like what's sort of your favorite depiction of them?
I love horror movies. I love like sci-fi movies. Not the biggest fan of like alien depictions. I don't really have any like particularly favorite ones. I would probably just say like E.T. is my, when I think like alien or pop culture, then just the little green head, and then also like E.T. is probably what I think of.
I have never seen E.T. I'm a
okay.
bad Alien fan. I need to see E.T. But I did a little research as to like where did like green and silver and like all these basic
The
things
big
like come
eyes.
from. Yes. And there are some stories and ties back to like the 12th century. So in the 12th century, there's something called the Green Children of Woolpit in England. So there were some people harvesting, working the fields, and they saw a little boy and a girl, and they had green skin, and they had clothing made out of material that was unfamiliar, and they were speaking an unknown language. So that was like, I guess, one of the first documented encounters of these like green aliens. But the thing is, they looked really human. They just had all these different attributes. And then they like, basically took them in and adopted them and like taught them English. And then the little boy and girl said that they came from like a faraway land without the sun, where it was always like midnight or something like that. So that was interesting. Skeptics think it was most likely malnourished orphans that were probably like Flemish speaking. And because back in the 12th century there wasn't like as much globalization or knowledge, they were like, these kids are extraterrestrial when they're literally just from like a country over. So that's one of the first associations with green and aliens are like these children. And then the first like sort of UFO movie was from 1951. It's The Day the Earth Stood Still is what it's called. And here the aliens kind of look like the Tin Man. It's in black and white. It's just this big silver humanoid thing. But then the first movie in color to show aliens as green is Invaders from Mars in 1953. So that's where we sort of start the like actual Hollywood trope of like silver and green.
Got it. And so I guess the definition and explaining what aliens are is not actually that complicated, like we said. But what are your thoughts maybe on aliens?
Yeah, so I am not like sold on any one definition, but I definitely think that there's some sort of life out there. Like, I just don't think there's any way that we're like that special. I feel like if it could happen once with Earth, it could happen like again. I know that I believe in like, it's sort of weird. It might be like logical dissonance. Like, I believe in energies and entities, but then I'm also pretty sold on the Big Bang too. So then it's like, okay, well, which is it? So, but I just feel like, yeah, if the conditions were right on Earth, they must have been right somewhere else. Are they living concurrently? Maybe not. Maybe there are some other planets that like had life and then they expired and now we're here. Or maybe there are some planets that are developing life and they may or may not overlap with us. Maybe we'll be extinct by the time that like they're up and coming. So that's what I think. But I mean, I'm open to any information, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
What about you?
So, yeah, I'm going to be talking here for a bit. So I definitely have some thoughts, and I think it's layered. I work best with like visualization or examples of like understanding things, right? I like breaking down things to logic and reason. So I essentially have three trains of thoughts on the matter. So before that, I just kind of want to give a little information, right? So the fastest thing we know or can measure, perceive, is the speed of light. The speed of light is about 300,000 miles per second. That's per second. That's like in 1 second, light will travel 300,000 miles, right?
Oh my God.
So that means that at that speed, so you would be going around the Earth 12 times in 1 second. Just Earth, right? So that means if you walked outside and without looking up in the sky, just look down the road or like down a freeway, as far as the eye could see, that's not even relatively close to the speed of light. You'd be going way farther and faster than that. From Earth to the sun is 91.6 million miles. It would take 8 minutes for anything to travel from there to us if it was going at the speed of light, right? We can see the sun. We can observe the sun. So between here and the sun, there's 90 million miles. That's million. Like, I don't even know how long it would take you to count that, right? So why am I saying all this? Why does this matter? I think that the possibility of there being organic life out there somewhere in the universe is very possible and very probable, just because of distance, right? So just in these examples, this is our solar system. This is just within the observable, what you and me can see with our naked eye. We're already talking massive distance. Now, the things beyond our solar systems, beyond the Milky Way, beyond our galaxies, the Andromeda galaxies, Betelgeuse, I mean, we're talking things that are way, way far. So just with probability, if we take that into considerations, I do believe that there is some sort of life form or organic life matter out there somewhere in the universe. I think it would be highly statistical that Earth is the only place that has life, right? But like you said earlier, anything as minute as like a bacteria can be considered life. So I do think that is out there.
Yeah, they've shown that like Venus and Mars, which is really funny astrologically for a second, like the female and the masculine energy, which are both needed like to create life. But anyway, they're within sort of like, I think it's called the Goldilocks zone of the sun, where it's like close enough within our galaxy to be like okay for life, but like Mercury is too close, and then like Saturn, Neptune are like too far. So Venus, Earth, and Mars are like in the sort of perfect range for maybe having some life. Venus has basically like some sort of foundational elements to where it's like life could be possible on here. And then
yeah, I mean, organic carbon-based life forms, it's like nitrogen, oxygen, what is it, like nitrogen, oxygen, I think
hydrogen.
It's hydrogen.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're very rudimental elements. So I do believe there is some sort of life form out there in the universe, and technically that is an alien life form, right? If we're sticking to the definition. I take it a step further. Do I believe there's intelligent life out there in the universe? You know, I'm a pretty big skeptic, and like most of our episodes, it's just me saying like, well, I don't, it's not really for me. I don't think it's evidence based. I don't think so. However, in this case, with the examples that I've spoken about, I don't think it's probable that there's intelligent life out there, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. If you're going to tell me like, make a definitive statement, I would say honestly, there could be. I think there definitely could be intelligent life form out there, which brings me to my last point. So, is there life out there? In my opinion, yes. Is there intelligent life form out there? Probably, but it's not a definite no for me. Now, here's where it gets spicy. Do I believe we've been visited by intelligent life form? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's where I draw the line. I do not think we have been remotely visited by intelligent life form, and here's a couple reasons why. First off, to get into our atmosphere, I mean, when we traveled out to space, we needed to develop new compounds, new materials, new polymers and what have you, to be able to break through our atmosphere and then not burn up into ours, right? We're pretty advanced as a society. I mean, now we're talking about artificial intelligence. Our medical advancements are amazing. I mean, it was a lot of work to get that done, right? Just for us to escape just the barrier to go to the moon. Shout out to our moon episode. It takes a lot, right? We haven't been able to travel to our closest relative in the sky, which is Mars. We haven't. We don't have the technology. We don't have the the scientific knowledge to do so. We have technology that lets us see into the cosmos, which is like our closest neighbors, our planetary system. I don't think there's a life out there that has developed the technology to travel through space, because space travel itself, I mean, you would need you can't really go against physics. It doesn't work like that. You have to follow the laws of nature, the laws of physics, right? So you would need a sustainable energy source that's renewable, that can travel light years, because within the observable light years, we haven't really seen anything remotely resembling anything like that.
We haven't even explored our ocean entirely.
Exactly. Yes. So I don't think we've ever been visited by any intelligent life form. I just don't think it's happened. So again, that's kind of where I personally draw the line on that.
So, when I say intelligent life form, for me, this is more than like a bacteria, like
correct.
Something that can like move and like can have senses and stuff. Is there intelligent life out there? Maybe.
Correct.
But if they're like smart and wise, why would they want to interact with us? I feel I
don't even think that, right? I mean, I think humans are very egocentrical, So like, and we'll talk about examples and encounters and things, and it's like it's always like, people saying like, oh, they visited me, they visited the U.S. It's like you're so egocentric, like. One of our stories took place in Santa Maria, California. Like,
not to trash talk Santa Maria or anything.
But like, if an alien is gonna visit somewhere, like they're gonna visit Santa Maria, like, give me a break, right? So I think that's where I'm just like, we need to be cautious and we need to be realistic in understanding, who we are as Terra people. Like. We're not that special,
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if they had that capacity to go against physics that we don't understand, to communicate and like be scientifically advanced like that, like why us?
And the other thing is, again, going back to our egocentric like thoughts, they're always a reflection of who we are as humans, right? Every depiction that we show is like it's bipedal. Like beings, right? Earth is a very unique system where our gravity is like we adapt to like what Earth is basically. So that means that we can stand up, we can do things. It all has to do with like our surroundings, right? So we're saying that an alien that would visit us, based on like what pop culture, what people have said, it's like they share the same features of us. Like, no, like that's the reason why the biggest animals in the world are in the ocean, because they're not tied down by gravity. Their bone structure, their density wouldn't like survive. So we're saying like an advanced civilization from light years away has the exact same, gravitational pull that our Earth has the same atmosphere. No, bodies would look different. It's just, I think the human mind of like, we're the center of the universe, that like, oh, the aliens look bipedal, the aliens look like us, the aliens have eyes. I mean, who are we? We put these features on those aliens, and it's just not, it's just not true.
Yeah, so kind of like a hot take that someone gave us during our party this weekend. Someone's like, I think that all of like the angels and like, all these like deities in like the Bible and stuff are in other texts might be aliens because of how they describe them. Like, if you've ever seen pictures of like a biblically accurate angel, they're not this cute little like chubby baby in the sky. Like, they have like thousands of eyes with wings. It makes like no sense. So I feel like aliens probably would not look human-like. That just wouldn't make sense. Correct. It's not efficient in another type of like conditions.
Correct. 100%. Yeah. And then we just go kind of into mass hysteria, right? The most famous example I can think of is from 1938, The War of the Worlds. Just a quick summary. War of the Worlds was a prank by a radio station. And it wasn't even a prank. They actually said right before the broadcast, they said, hey, this is a story. Like, this isn't real. But not everybody got to hear that. Basically, the radio read a story about like Earth being invaded by aliens, and they made it was like a radio play, so they made it seem real. So like the people who didn't like tune in for the disclaimer, thought that we were being invaded by aliens. And a lot of those recounts said they swore, like, yes, we saw the aliens, like, we saw the ships, like, so mass hysteria, persuasion does play a lot into it. I mean, the mind is so powerful that it can trick you into believing that you're seeing things that aren't there. So it's not even saying that, like, the people who witness it or say it's not even saying that they're lying. It's just saying that, in their mind, I'm sure they think it's true, but it's just not.
It's really interesting. I feel like the zeitgeist, specifically in like Western media, always goes through several rotations. One is aliens, another one is like the Red Scare, the other one is like a satanic panic, and then the other one is like new wave beliefs, which I feel like we're going through a couple of those at the same time. But in the like you said, 30s through 50s, space was a really big thing. So, like I said, all these movies that were coming out in the 50s were of aliens. It was in their zeitgeist back then. And then I actually have two really interesting, like, famous UFO encounters or like alien encounters. And again, they're also from the 50s and 60s when these movies were coming out. So the first one from 1955 is the Kelly Hopkins encounter. It's a family in Kentucky that claimed that these little men with horns and long arms that were silver like visited them in Kentucky and like were fucking with them. So basically these little humanoid creatures, they stood at around 3.5 feet tall with an oversized head, round eyes that glowed yellow. Its arms were so long that they almost reached the ground, and they had talons on their hands. And basically, like, they would scratch at them, and they would keep like jumping on the roof, and then they would like do a flip when they brought out their shotgun and like disappear and come back in a way that didn't make sense. Like, they could fly really fast. And basically, like, the little silver men kept coming back, and then eventually by 11 they were like, we need the police's help, we're being attacked by aliens. And the police took a report and all of that. Skeptics looking back believe it was probably a great horned owl, and they couldn't tell what it was because it was probably really dark. Because in the moonlight, great horned owls will have like a silver sort of like iridescent look, and then just the way that they described, like the big head, the horns, the like skinny arms were probably its wings, and then the talons, yeah, it sounds like an owl attack. And then this next one, I laugh because this is where we get the whole myth about the anal probing from. This is where it stems from.
Oh, I want to hear this.
I told one of my friends.
Also, what the hell is the obsession? That's what I'm saying. Like, out of all the things that could be probed, like, that's what they go for.
I know. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about the probing right now. I'm gonna give the people what they want. So Betty and Barney Hill were on their way home from a trip in New Hampshire on the night of September 19th, 1961. Around 10:30 at night, Betty claims to have seen a mysterious light in the distance. They stopped their car and got their binoculars out to get a closer look. And then after that, there was like a gap in their memory, and they were suddenly 40 miles away from where they remember, and they had like 2 hours of missing time, and they had a couple of like scrapes all over their body. And they didn't understand it. They shrugged it off. They went home, and then they went to sleep. And then Betty remembers in her sleep that she was being lifted up into this spaceship, and there were these gray aliens that brought them aboard their spacecraft. And before they started communicating, they wanted to examine them. So they did a physical exam on them to like understand their body. Her husband was also lifted up, but he was asleep through most of it. And part of the physical exam included an anal probe. This is in her documentation, her testament. And then her husband also confirmed the facts as well. But how did he confirm it? After having hypnotherapy to try to get the facts back 2 years after she went around a whole tour saying I encountered aliens, right? So the skeptics definitely think pop culture fascination because it's really close to that time in the 50s and 60s. This was 1961, so a bunch of UFO movies have already been out by this time in the cultural zeitgeist. And then how is it that 2 years later Barney is going to suddenly remember everything she's saying after she's gone around and had tours all over the country saying what she's saying 2 years later? You know what I mean? So that's where the probing comes from, if people were curious.
No, I mean it's good to know where origins come from. I mean, I actually do think that is important, right? We've touched on it on several episodes of like where the origins of things come from. And if you've ever played the game Telephone, I mean, just with a group of like 4 or 5 people, the message that starts at one end sometimes can be so vastly different than what ends up on the other end, right? So there's just so many tropes. There's just so many similarities. There's so many, even in stories, we have the hero's journey, right? It's like stories at some point get recycled. Stories get, inflated. Stories get, what have you, just changed over time. And it's interesting because maybe back in the day, they didn't have the information. So every time it got told, it would, be changed, mixed up, convoluted. But now that we do have the information and we have the internet, it's almost a double-edged sword because now anybody can throw anything out there too. So either way, it's kind of fucked, right? We're never going to get the details on that.
So speaking of recent technology and the news and things like that, did you see... A lot of people saw this, but maybe you were busy. I don't know. Sometimes I miss big things in the news. The whole thing about Mexico showing aliens in like a Congress meeting.
No.
Oh my God. It's if you haven't seen the tamale season, the whole meme going around where they make little aliens as tamales. Anyway, so Mexico was like, we have mummified alien bodies and we're gonna show I don't remember if it was Congress or Senate or what, but they brought it out in front of all of these Mexican politicians. And everyone was like, oh my God, we have proof of aliens. And then, because we are in this day and age where we can communicate with other countries like really quickly, right? With technology, the scientific community was like, a ver, we need a sample of these aliens. Like, if you have nothing to hide, let's see it. And then they saw that it was just like 2 little... I don't know if they were like little kids or fetuses because they were kind of tiny, but they were definitely like sort of forced to look like aliens. Like their bodies were manipulated, even though the claim was that they weren't. But after scientific testing, it was just manipulated mummies.
Manipulated mummies. And again, right, going back to the human life form, like if there are aliens with intelligent intelligent life out there, like, why would it take the exact form that we take as humans, right? Being bipedal is not an advantage. Most of the animals out there are on 4 legs. Our sight is horrible. We see a very, very small part of the visible light spectrum. So, we just project, right? We as humans love to project that onto other things. So that's fun. Last minutes here on kind of the background and aliens. I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the most famous alien thing, Area 51. So what do you have on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of mysticism with the U.S. government keeping secrets from us, for sure. Are they keeping secrets from us? Absolutely, all the time. It's not until later when things get like declassified. However, how is like Johnny on Reddit gonna know like all of... I mean, maybe, who knows, government secrets were leaked on Discord. So let me take my comment back, but I don't know, just like, how have we had this lore of Area 51 for so long? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, to me, I question it a little bit. But
so what is the lore?
The lore is basically that Area 51 is a military base that has a bunch of like aliens in there for testing in tanks, and they're like observing them. It's basically like where the military sends all of its alien technology and just aliens period that they've captured. So
And again, going back to my point earlier, right? The military, anytime there's a war, there's money to be made. If there was actual aliens that they were holding, again, the technology to visit us on Earth, I mean, you'd think it'd be reverse engineered by now and we'd be using it, right? This might be too soon, but we couldn't even get to the bottom of the ocean to get that submarine, like, right? So I think it's just too many things working against the notion that other intelligent lives have visited us. We have captured them. Like, imagine traveling light years to visit us and like simple carbon life forms can just capture you. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like we were going through a bunch of stuff, so I didn't even pay attention to it. But I know that the U.S. did declassify some UFO stuff, but I mean,
also, all a UFO means is unidentified flying object. I mean, that doesn't mean alien. That just means we don't know what that is. But, I mean, it could be other countries that have,
secret tech or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. But I was going to say, like, slowly but surely, anything they know will get declassified for sure.
Exactly. Again, very contentious topic. I think a lot of people out there probably going to call bullshit on this episode and say you guys have no idea what you're talking about. But I don't know, just from gathering the pulse of like, some people spoken to, a lot of people are believers. I think probably most in other paranormal things or supernatural things, which I think is interesting, right? So like, what does that say about the psychology of a human? Like that, we crave the thought of we're not alone, right? As a human race. I think a lot of it feeds into that. Maybe not on an individual psychological level, but maybe as a group think, as a group mentality. And that, I mean, that can go back to evolution, right? It can go back to like, if we're not alone, we're going to survive. So,
But I feel like there is like a mutually agreed upon reality, but some people have their own reality. Like maybe some people that have, undiagnosed mental health going on, like to them, maybe the sun really is talking to them. That is their truth.
Correct. Yeah.
Like,
and I think those are two separate things, right? I think well-minded, balanced, intelligent people like do believe, and that's why I think it's more of a sociological phenomenon of like, just as humans, how we're wired, like strength in numbers, which is the Warriors motto. But yeah, I mean, it's comforting to know that if we're not alone, out there in the universe, a lot of things, right? Maybe we can go out there. Maybe they have the answers to all our problems as humans. Maybe they have the answers to like, why are we here? It just gives comfort in knowing that we're not the only ones. However, comfort is not reality.
yeah, definitely. But what I was trying to say is like, if someone has a lived experience that they can't explain, like it's really hard to take that away from someone.
Of course. Oh,
and
100%.
so many people were like, I also am skeptical, but I lived this and I can't explain it either.
100%.
Like, that's why I'm open-minded, like, which I'll talk about in a minute. But when I was younger, I had like a really weird encounter, and that's why it's like all the logic is pointing to everything we've said earlier, but emotionally, like, I'm still open-minded. I still believe.
Correct. And I mean, it's simple, right? The only information we get as humans comes through 5 very rudimental senses, right? Mm-hmm. So anytime those senses are activated, whether it's sight, smell, taste, or 5 senses, we're going to take it as truth. That's the only way we can interact with the physical world is through these 5 senses. So if one of those senses is going off, you're not going to tell me, hey, this isn't true, when I saw it, I heard it, I felt it. Yeah, it's strong. I mean, it's strong convictions can lead to strong, um, outcomes of like believability.
Yeah, so when I couldn't tell you how old I was. I don't know, but I remember that I was living somewhere that had 2 stories. It was the summer and I had my window open because it was hot. I woke up because I heard a noise, and then I saw like a cross between like a claw and tentacle sort of grab like the edge of the window, like it was trying to come into my window. And then I see like this big head with big eyes, and then I screamed, and then it screamed so loud that it like knocked me out. And then time just passed and I woke up in a different part of my house. Like logically I know I was probably younger. Again, the aliens look like the stereotypical like green alien with big old eyes, but just like the emotion that memory evokes in me like defies logic, to where I'm like, I feel like that could have been a vivid dream or a nightmare or something, but like I've never had a dream that intense. I've never had a dream that I've confused with reality. I'm pretty good of like differentiating, like that was an intense dream, but this didn't feel like a dream. It felt like super real. So whenever I think back to like that brief moment that I had, like it feels so real to me in like my gut that I can't explain it.
Yeah. No, it's the mind is strong. I will say that. What's really funny is that if we do, I don't know within our lifetime if we will. Elon Musk says we will, but like if we go to Mars, we will be the aliens, which
is so trippy.
Yeah, which is just kind of trippy to me. So like maybe we're the aliens. Maybe we're the ones that are going to explore, the planets, the civilizations out there, and anytime we go there, we like to take stuff. So I don't know. It's just interesting.
I know the aliens that we call aliens are going to be like, I swear it had 5 fingers on each hand, 2 eyes. Can you believe that?
For sure. Definitely. So, okay. A great topic. I was looking forward to this episode for a while. And we'll talk about it then, but I hope this discussion post is engaging when we post it. But now we have a few minutes left. We do want to talk about a few stories that were shared with us. Again, some will remain anonymous. But why don't you start us off, Genesis?
Yeah, so this person, I asked them if they wanted to be anonymous and they never got back to me, so I'm just going to keep it as anonymous. But this person said that this story took place over 15 years ago as they were sitting in the back of their mom's 1995 Chevrolet Camaro. They were driving down a country road in the Central Valley, California, with clear blue skies and no clouds in sight. They're staring out the window looking at the sky when they noticed a small disc-shaped object in the distance. They stared at the object for a few seconds, wondering what they could possibly be looking at. Then, when they slowly started to turn their head out of the corner of their eye, they saw the object zoom away. They did a quick double take, but the object was no longer in the sky. And then they said, quote, "Call me crazy, but to this day, I am convinced I saw a UFO."
Awesome. This was at nighttime?
Yeah. Nighttime 15 years ago. So, 2008, maybe?
Got it. Well, we're not calling anybody crazy on this podcast. I think, we have very level-headed listeners, so nobody's crazy. And like we talked about, I'm a firm believer that our thoughts and experiences are as real to us as, you are listening to this podcast, right? Because imagine we're having this podcast and this episode disappears. And our listeners are like, no, we heard a podcast about aliens. And we were like, no, we've never put a podcast out about aliens. I mean, we'd be gaslighting them.
I was going to say, that's called gaslighting.
Yeah. But their experience is real, right? I mean, it's real. It's valid. So,
are the aliens gaslighting us?
Yeah, right. Are the aliens gaslighting us? That's the real question there. Cool. Any other stories you received?
I didn't get any others. No.
No. Okay. I have two. So again, these will remain anonymous, and I'm probably not going to go into like geographically where they happened. Let's just say in California for now. One was an individual who shared that they were laying in bed, and they, went to sleep like any other normal night. And at one point they felt jolted and felt like they were levitating out of their bed. They reported that they could look down and see kind of what was, on the bed with them. And they kept levitating. They said that at one point they felt that they were on some sort of like maybe metallic or metal table, and that they could hear like voices and see basically essentially beings kind of around them. I kind of picture it like if you're on a surgical table and are under anesthesia, but for some reason, unfortunately, are still like awake and aware. It kind of sounds like that was the situation. They said that afterwards, then they felt a poking sensation kind of near or around the neck area and felt a very clear bump on there. They report that when they kind of came to, they realized that that was not a dream and that had actually happened, and that was an experience that, they vow was that they're not claiming that they have the answer or saying that like, I know, why this happened or who those, beings were, but, adamant that this did happen to them. So, take that as you will, but, it's very consistent with kind of other recounts of people claiming or stating that they have been, abducted, possibly probed, or tested on, and then returned to their home.
Do they know like what the thing inserted to them was? Do they have any idea?
No, I don't believe they do. But yeah, that's one story. And another story that we got was very similar. They reported they went outside and it was clear as day. Like it wasn't even like it was off in the distance or blurry or anything. They said that they saw a flying saucer like right in front of them. They said that they kind of called out to other people to come out, and once they went inside to get other people, the saucer was gone. Had disappeared. So
gaslighting.
No, well, there's more to that. They said they know what they saw, and it was like not like they're like it wasn't even a matter of like is this real or not. It's just as real as like the sun being out or like a plane in the sky. There was definitely something there. They did report that they kind of looked it up on YouTube to see if anybody else had seen it, and that somebody else had seen it and posted a video of it. However, it was kind of grainy. They did further investigation, and I guess there were reports that apparently the military said that they were testing something, but it didn't.
Wow.
It didn't look like anything that is common or very readily visible out there. So, yeah. What do you think about those?
I wish there was a way that we could like bat signal the aliens, because sometimes it's like I don't want to be on this planet anymore.
Well, we do have, gosh, I forget what it's called. I think we sent out into the universe some sort of probe that has, I think it's a golden vinyl on it. I think it has something on it. It's basically like our DNA or an explanation of like human life.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember the name of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, and it's driving me crazy.
I want to say it went out in 60s or 70s. I could look it up, but just going off memory. But that is right. That is our call to the universe. Like, hey, if something's out there, let us know. Our forms of communications are, very advanced, I think, to our, humankind. We have radio waves, microwaves, things that we can use to communicate, send things pretty far out. I think we sent out a probe that recently, time is relative here because recent is very subjective, but I think it was reaching the edge of our solar system. So there's definitely something human made that's out there. We have antennas pointing to the cosmos, and I know there has been times where we have received as humans undistinguishable feedback that nobody has an explanation for. So I think there are things out there. I think the universe is so vast and still growing that it would be very unrealistic for me to say, no, this is it, it's just us. No, I think there's more. But I don't think we've seen it as humans, and I don't think we're going to see it in our lifetime, right? The Earth is scheduled to, or the sun is scheduled to explode within the next 5 billion years. So basically it's just going to be nothing, a remnant of what was once mankind.
I'm excited to get abducted tonight and be like, you thought we weren't real, huh?
I know, right? The aliens are going to come straight to us and be like, is this real enough for you?
Surprise, shouty. So with that, thank you everyone to listening about all these things alien. We would love to hear if you didn't have a chance to submit your story. I would love to hear what it is. If you have evidence, because like I said, everything is pointing towards no, but I'm still open-minded. I'm not a full-on skeptic. So please, if you have evidence, submit it to NASA and CC me on that email. So again, how to get in contact with me. My Instagram is Jen Calotero, GenKahlotarot. Or if you'd rather get in touch by email, my email is tarotwithgenesis@gmail.com. And then next week, our episode is going to be Mercury retrograde, because Mercury is going into retrograde starting next week.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Blessed be, and signing off.